Everywhere GBS.
Good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and this is The Ambassador. With me, your Ambassador Paul Mathenge. This is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Now, to our very first story, Gen Z protesters took to the street yesterday to mark the first anniversary of last year's anti-finance bill demonstrations in Nairobi CBD and in cities like Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Matu, Embu and Kirinyaga. Thousands rallied to condemn police brutality and government corruption. Here are the details.
Gen Z protesters took to the streets today to mark the anniversary of last year's massive anti-finance bill demonstrations, flooding Nairobi's CBD and cities across the country with renewed energy and demands. What began as a solemn remembrance of those who lost their lives quickly escalated into clashes with police who deployed tear gas and wielded batons against the crowds. The youth-led rally highlighted persistent grievances over government corruption and police brutality, showing the fight for justice is far from over.
Tunasema ni half term, mama ni half term. Tumechoka, kumbe imechoka. Hamtui tena. Hamtui. Is this what we are going to go through every day? We are youth. We don't have jobs. We don't have anything to live for. You've taken away everything we have. Everything we need to live for. You've taken it all away. What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? We are tired.
Leo tunasema Kasongo must go, na kama Kasongo haedi, sisi mwenyewe tutamtoa, na tunasema hatutaki kuumizwa tena na hatulipi gharama tena na tutasimama maovu ya kitawala.
Protests were not limited to Nairobi. Demonstrators also gathered in towns such as Matu, Embu, and Kirinyaga, carrying Kenyan flags and placards bearing images of protesters who died during last year's unrest. The anniversary protest come amid growing public outcry over police violence, especially following the recent death of a 31-year-old blogger and teacher, Albert Ojwang, who died in custody after criticizing a senior police officer. His death has become a symbol of ongoing struggle against abuses of power.
Mavijana zikuwa na kufa hivyo, tumekataa Gen Z power.
Hivyo tumekuja kukomesha hiyo mambo inaendelea kukua watoto wetu.
Sisi kama Gen Z tumetokea na fujo sana. Huyu president wetu atusimamii. Gen Z muko? Tumetokea juu ya Ruto, tumuondoe.
As the day ended, it was clear that the youth remain resolute in their quest for justice and dignity. The protest underscored a broader national reckoning with corruption and systemic violence that continues to undermine trust in government institutions. For Gen Z, today was more than a commemoration. It was a powerful statement that their voices will not be silenced and their fight for a better Kenya continues unabated. The question now is whether those in power will finally heed their call.
One in 5 Kenyan adolescents has experienced 4 or more advanced childhood experiences, placing them at high risk for mental health challenges such as depression, anxiety, and bullying. This is according to new findings from the study, and I quote, understanding the lasting effects of adverse childhood experiences of the mental health of Kenyan youth. shared during the Adverse Childhood Experiences. From research to policy action webinar hosted by the Brian and Mai Institute at Aga Khan University in collaboration with the Shamiri Institute. Susan Nganga with more.
A silent crisis is growing among Kenya's young people. 1 in 5 teens has faced 4 or more serious childhood hardships, the kind that can lead to depression, anxiety, and even bullying. The findings were released during a webinar hosted by the Brain and Mind Institute at the Aga Khan University in partnership with the Shamiri Institute. Adverse childhood experiences, or essays, include violence, include neglect, violence, abuse, and poverty. They can leave long-lasting scars on mental well-being. Nearly a quarter of teens reported moderate to severe depression, while over 21% face anxiety. Boys appear particularly vulnerable to bullying. The study also found that teens with just one surviving parent had 18% higher adversity scores, and students struggling academically were 15% more likely to have faced trauma. The message has never been clearer. Every child in Kenya deserves the chance not only to survive adversity, but to thrive beyond it.
The late Zambian President Edgar Lungu may be buried today in South Africa if a high court in Pretoria rules so. This will be a private family ceremony. Even Zambian President Hakainde is not expected to attend. Lungu died on 5th this month in South Africa while receiving treatment. A deadly landslide struck in municipality of Bello near Medellin, Colombia, following intense overnight rains, leaving several people dead and dozens missing. Homes and vehicles were buried under mud, prompting a large-scale rescue effort by emergency crews and local residents. As unstable conditions continue, authorities have issued evacuation alerts and are providing aid to displaced families. Here are the details.
Efforts intensified today in the municipality of Bello, just outside Medellin, after a deadly landslide swept through a residential area, burying several homes and vehicles under thick layers of mud and debris. Heavy rainfall triggered the collapse of a hillside overnight, catching many residents off guard. Local authorities confirmed that multiple bodies have been recovered, while dozens of people remain missing.
We don't really know how many more people are buried. This was truly a very severe natural catastrophe. We haven't recovered from everything that's happening. We are sad. We have much sadness in our hearts, seeing how a community was lost, seeing how lives were lost.
Emergency crews, supported by local residents in the Colombian municipality of Bello, outside Medellin, worked to clear the mud in hopes of finding survivors of the deadly landslide that struck the town. The terrain remains unstable due to continued rain, complicating rescue efforts and prompting evacuation alerts for nearby communities at risk of further slides. Emergency shelters have been set up to house displaced families, and aid distribution has begun.
I feel sadness with so many people still buried. We don't know what to do from now on. The effort, struggle, hunger, and sacrifices. We don't live here because we want. We live here because there really is nowhere else to live.
Tragedy has drawn national attention, with the government officials pledging full support for ongoing rescue and recovery operations. As families await news of missing loved ones, the community has come to solidarity and emotional support. The disaster underscores the vulnerability of hillside settlements during Colombia's rainy season and the urgent need for long-term mitigation efforts.
We'll take a short break. We will be right back with more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics.
A student can transition from other curriculums, such as the Kenyan CBC curriculum, the Pearson Edexcel curriculum, and the IB curriculum, to the Cambridge curriculum.
Today is all about models. So girl Alison, you tuned into Art Club, the best art show in the whole of East Africa.
My name is Abigail Paula, but on my socials I go with Peaches Paula. Yeah. I did procurement and logistics.
How do you deal with those negative comments? I'm a rejection.
Yeah.
How do you advise it
is, but the heaviness of it. Rejection is redirection.
Now you were crowned Miss Kenya UK.
Yeah.
Lakini before we get there, I want to know your journey towards that title.
Started with Miss Freshers.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I ended up being the first runners-up.
Hello kids, did you know a year has 31,557,600 seconds? Why do you think so? Exactly. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 and 25 days in a year. We count the extra 0.25 because of leap years. When you multiply all these numbers together, you get a huge number of seconds. That's why a year feels long, but time still flies when you are having fun.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the Ambassador, and now to our previous story. The late Zambian President Edgar Lungu may be buried today in South Africa if a high court is in Pretoria also. This will be a private family ceremony. Even Zambian President Hakainde is not expected to attend. Lungu died on 5th this month in South Africa while receiving treatment.
Today, Thursday the 26th of June of 2025, two important activities are taking place in South Africa, one depending on the outcome of the other for it to proceed. At Hillbrow in Johannesburg, wreaths of flowers and mourners have filled the Christ the King Church, ready to carry out a funeral service for the late Zambia's President Edgar Chagwa Lungu before his burial today in South Africa. Whereas in Pretoria, a High Court judge is expected to make a ruling whether the burial can proceed or not.
Instructions that I got should take care of the matter. Obviously, I just need to speak to my learned senior friend here if we can agree on some sort of a draft order. But we will. My instructions is to give certain undertakings that will take care of the issues as it stands today. The family for the family of the deceased for the late president doesn't want a piecemeal funeral situation.
Lungu's family and loved ones have filled the court benches, clad in funeral attire, in anticipation of the ruling in their favor. Zambia's government, through its Attorney General Mulilo Kabesa, yesterday threw a spanner into the works as it filed a case at the North Gauteng High Court, asking the court to interdict the late Lungu's burial. This means that Zambia's its president cannot find a rest until the court makes a final determination over the matter.
By agreement between the parties, an order is made in the following terms. The 1st to 7th respondents undertake not to proceed with the funeral and or burial of the late president pending the finalization of the application in prayer.
The family plans to hold a private burial ceremony in South Africa, with Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema excluded.
Family has been consistent. He mattered to the family when he was president, he matters to the family now. And taking him back home, it so appears, will not give him a dignified burial. And the family only wants to give him a dignified burial, not one that's shrouded in mockery, that's shrouded in PR, that's shrouded in giving the international community a perception that he was properly treated, when in fact not. Decency requires that the government should come across and say, we are sorry we never treated him well. We are sorry we did wrong to him. Now that he's dead, how can we make amends? No one spoke for Edgar Chagwa Lungu when he was alive. And now people want to pretend to speak for him when they were never there for him in his lifetime. And this time around, perhaps President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has refused to go down to the soil without the truth being told.
Zambian government is seeking the repatriation of the mortal remains of the late president. The late Lungu died on the 5th of June 2025 at the age of 68 in Pretoria, South Africa, while undergoing a surgery of a cardiac arrest. Victor Zing, the ambassador.
All eyes will be on Paris tonight, where Kenya's Faith Kipyegon, the reigning queen of middle distance running, is taking on one of athletics' greatest barriers, the first unofficial sub-4-minute mile by a woman, with world records already in her name. Kipyegon now sets her sights on rewriting history once again. Let's take a listen.
Today in Paris, Faith Kipyegon, Kenya's triple Olympic champion, will attempt the impossible, the first unofficial sub-4-minute mile by a woman. It's a bold challenge requiring her to run over 7 seconds faster than her own world best of 4 minutes, 7.64 seconds. Backed by Nike's Breaking 4 project, she'll have cutting-edge spikes, aerodynamic pacers, and every scientific edge possible. This is the same track where Kipyegon set world records in the 1,500 meters and the 5,000 meters respectively. From motherhood to gold medals, she has defied limits before, and now she's chasing one of the last barriers in the women's sport. 70 years after Roger Bannister broke 4 minutes for the men, Faith Kipyegon stands ready to do what no woman ever has. If all goes right, the pace, the weather, the will, we may witness a new chapter in human endurance. One race, 4 minutes, history awaits. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
North Korea marked the 75th anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War with a series of large-scale, state-organized anti-US rallies and events across the country. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, and this date is observed in North Korea as, and I quote, the Day of Resistance Against US Imperialism, or the Day of Struggle Against US Imperialism. Major rallies were held in Sinchon County, South Province, as well as in the capital Pyongyang and other regions. Participants included students, female workers, agricultural workers, members of North Korea's largest women organization, and soldiers. The rallies featured speeches and pledges of retaliate against the United States for what North Korea describes as, and I quote, Korean War atrocities. Videos and exhibitions despiting alleged U.S. crimes during the war were shown, and artworks highlighting wrongdoings by the U.S. and Japan were displayed. Now, we will bring you more of these stories as it unfolds. Now, and that's all for today. With me, your Ambassador Paul Madhenge on the Ambassador 1 p.m. Follow all of our stories at GBS TV. It's updated throughout the day. We meet every Thursday and Friday as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Thank you for your time and company.